You know how I do.
Let's get cracking!
Welcome everybody here to your broadcast of the Dota 2 Champions League. I'm your host for the English live stream, Toby1, bringing you game number 1 of Na'Vi versus Cloud9 in our two-game series this evening. Of course, we do start with Cloud9 up against Na'Vi, and they'll be going directly into Empire versus Cloud9. So a 4-game matchup for Cloud9. And, well, they kind of need some victories here. The D2CL has been a bit of a rough path for a lot of the teams so far, and especially Cloud9. They've got 2 victories and 4 losses out of 3 series they've played, and really, that's not going to get you into the top 5. And you must get yourself into the top 5. The number 1 team will go directly to DreamHack Bucharest, while the 2nd to 5th positions will play out for a spot to also head to DreamHack Bucharest. There are 3 teams to come from Europe, as well as 1 team to come from America. And the American series is already starting to ramp itself up. There's only 4 more games to actually play, I believe, for the American series. Na'Vi US currently looks like they're the ones pretty much poised to go all the way, at least at the grand finals. There are 7-1 as their results through the US division so far. But for the European team, we've still got a lot of games to go. We're only about maybe 3/4 of the way through the competition, so there's still a lot more Dota to be played, and hopefully some fantastic Dota without any kind of delays or problems like we were having last night.
Remaining.
Shout out to Fnatic. But yes, so Cloud9, they're going to be on the dais for the first time, also with the ability to go for their double pickup. No banning of Draw Rangers or Visages in the first set, so if Eternal Envy is that greedy, he can potentially go straight in for that Draw Visage combination, which they seem to be favoring, but at least it will be a combination pickup, more than likely. So we have Tinker and Batrider being removed out, just consistent split push potential, as well as the ability to control the split pushes. That's what the Batrider really comes into play, while the Lycan and the Death Prophet will be removed. So Na'Vi's removing the elements of pushing power coming out from Cloud9, not split push as such, but it's more of the force down a lane. But then you get that combination, and it seems like Envy is valuing this above almost anything else. Picking up that Drow and Visage, it's a dangerous kind of hero to play, the Drow Ranger, but we've been seeing more and more Drow Rangers getting a very early start into that Blink Dagger, and they're able to evade the initial attacks, and also gives you fantastic positioning when it comes to the team fights into the mid game. But you need to be able to get yourself the early farm required for the Drow Ranger, and more than likely a hand of Midas rush up as well. If you can also potentially get that, then your life is really, really good. So Na'Vi need to either make sure they run an aggro tri-lane here, which means they've got to then deal with the damage output which will be coming from Cloud9. Also ban the Viper, or else that will be selected. Because Cloud9 just group themselves up and they fight. You get that Viper, who's already pretty difficult to kill off, and you give him bonus damage from the Drow Ranger, your mid lane is really impossible to win. That's why I'm really surprised you get something like a Puck coming up here from Na'Vi. It's potentially a Funnic Puck to run on the off lane with an Enforced Razor. But if you're going to do that, then it's almost like you're sacking the off lane. You stay close enough to get some experience, you use your orb to just get a little bit of it, and the orb does give you some good counter push. That's one thing which does work nicely for the 2 heroes picked up by FNG already. The fact that you're able to get that, both Dream Call as well as Plasma Field, to evaporate the creep wave.
Cloud9's
he bans out the VS. In this game, I'd probably be more concerned about a Skywrath Mage being picked up against them. Cloud9 have the first pickup coming into the next phase, and you got a Puck on your team. Now, Doombringer as well as Skywrath Mage haven't been touched. In fact, Na'Vi could also be using Skywrath Mage, but it's just the fact that Cloud9 had the first pickup coming out of this area, where you can go a Visage as well as a Skywrath Mage, and you could assume you can have lane dominance.
Navi's turn.
In fact,
to
Cloud9
ban.
just removing out the heroes, which could potentially cause some problems, Centaur being one of them. Also, a nice off-lane hero. Not perfect up against a Drow Ranger, difficult to kill, but high level up in cold arrows means you're able to just keep that slow honor. And it's very difficult to escape from that combination.
Remaining.
So, Centaur will be removed. It's probably more for the Stampede as well. Will allow
5
Razor and Puck to
seconds
freely
remaining.
move around during the engagements. Puck's already got high maneuverability, Razor's got high movement speed. But with the Stampede, you can
time.
guarantee cutting that distance between yourself as well as the Drow Ranger, without always just having to worry about, like, well, you still have to worry about Visage Birds giving you a stomp, and the Gust as well. But okay, you actually got a lot of things to worry about as far as filters go. And Cloud9, actually, kind of thinking as well, like, I'm talking about Skywrath Mage, which just gives you a lot of lane presence. Like, the amount of harassment damage you do with a Skywrath Mage, once draws up to level 6, so the aura really gives you something really worthwhile, as far as extra damage goes. But you've already got your orb attacks, and your seal is the primary thing I'm searching for on the Puck. You could run a Bone 7 Doom. That could be another selection. If Na'Vi going for Doom, Razor, and Puck, I got a funny feeling they'll end up... I don't know if they actually lose the game with that. They will ban the Viper, so yeah, they take out the easy hero for Fader. I'm just interested to see how Cloud9 want to approach this, because their other option is Cloud9 just run Drow and Visage on the safe lane. They grab Aoi 2000's Enigma, throw him into the jungle.
remaining.
It means an easy early Roshan attempt but from Cloud9. They just need
5
one hero in the middle lane that
remaining.
really is able to capitalize. Also on the other heroes of Cloud9, you can go for something like a Templar Assassin up against the Puck.
Cloud9's
Wouldn't be a
turn
bad
to
choice,
pick.
but TA would struggle up against the Razor, so I think Cloud9 need to know a little bit more about the Na'Vi draft before they get a little bit too deep into their core pickup. So either controlling heroes through Skywrath Mage right now, the Doom is still a potential pickup. It wouldn't reveal too much of the Cloud9 lanes, because I wouldn't even faded Doombringer in the middle lane probably not. It would reveal up actually a lot of the lanes when you really think about it. Because if Cloud9 want to show their jungler straight off the cuff,
5 seconds
and
remaining.
I'd have no problem with an Enigma Black Hole in this game. You just got to buy time for the attack, but they actually go for a Bane instead here for
turn to
Cloud9.
pick.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Visage and Bane aren't really the combination guys. Like, you don't go, well, I'm going to get that Nightmare so the Soul Assumption can hit. You don't really think like that. You can think about the Fiend script as a way to control up either the Puck or the Razor during a team fight and buy time for Drow Ranger to attack, but you get that from a lot of other heroes as well.
10
What you do
seconds
get is nice
remaining.
range harassment. The double nukage is where you do find a combination, but if you're going to be doing that, you got to be looking at an aggro trialing almost. You could do like a Mirana with Bane and
Reserve
Visage. So you have
time.
Mirana Arrow into the Bane Nightmare, and then Visage has the Soul Assumption damage and potentially Brain Sap too. There's a lot of quick burst damage, but that means you got to leave your Drow Ranger either undertended up on the top lane up against whoever the offlaner is, and you can rotate someone up there if things get a little bit rough, or if you've already won your off lane, because then the Mirana's fine by herself. Or you could run a Drow Ranger in the mid, go a little bit more EG style with that Drow Ranger. So a lot of options as Na'Vi now go for a Wisp.
Cloud9
That's a
turn to
ballsy
pick.
pickup from Na'Vi. They might be looking for the Wisp Tiny combination here. In fact, it would almost be a certainty. That's what FNG will be searching for. That way you can relocate directly in on the Drow Ranger, and keeping up with the Drow Ranger is very easy because you just start tossing heroes at her. And when you're able to do that kind of stuff, you take away the big bonuses which Cloud9 get during the team fights from the Drow Ranger aura.
10 seconds
But
remaining.
the downside about it is, if that Wisp gets Nightmared, Soul Assumption
5
and Brain Sap
seconds
will take away
remaining.
majority of his life points.
Mirana.
And yeah, there's that Mirana pickup. Looks like my feelings are right for this.
Turn to pick.
And Cloud9 are going to be looking to be very aggressive. They can still run dual lanes as well. It doesn't have to be a full aggro tri-lane. You can leave the Visage draw up on top, the Mirana Bane for the off lane, and then just pick up a hero which can also be ranged and capitalize on the power from the rest of Cloud9. Not to mention, you've actually got another buff up. In a way, like, you can potentially use the leap for bonus movement speed. The distance is obviously there. The
Cloud9's
attack's
turn
bonus
to
speed, it's
ban.
also there. And that's given to everyone. So technically you have a semi-buff on the side. It's actually a gyrocopter picked up by Na'Vi. So searching for some teamfight control. But the gyro and Wisp combination coming in together.
10 seconds remaining.
Like, the lineup from Cloud9 is meant to kite Na'Vi. It's meant to fully kite Na'Vi, which means the gyrocopter and the Wisp... Like, gyrocopter has to get in close in the early stages to get the rocket barrage damage off. In the later stages, the flat cannon becomes most of the damage you're searching for. But in the early stages, that gyro getting some good kill potential just doesn't really exist. So there's going to be a farming gyrocopter, which does then push Dendi Puck. No, Dendi Razor and Puck will be played by Funnick in this game then. The only alternative they have, as far as laning goes, instead of putting the Puck on the off lane, is running Wisp Gyro +1 as an aggro lane. But if you start doing that, then your safe lane Puck is dead. One basically Nightmare into Arrow, and the Puck is toast. I'm not going to say from the very start, you probably still need the Starfall and Brain Sap damage, but once that burst damage does arrive, then Cloud9 will be finding kills left, right, and center. I'm liking the Cloud9 lineup. Obviously, because it's a Drow Ranger lineup, I have to like it a little bit more. It's just who I am. But the Cloud9 boys, they will feel pretty confident with this draft. There's just one last hero, which is Faders, and that can almost be anything. This guy does play almost anything. I'm still a massive fan of the Templar Assassin to give him the Aegis, the Immortal advantage. The primary reason I'm saying Aegis, the Immortal advantage, is because you can use the Meld to attack directly into Roshan. And if it's a Razor or a Puck, you're still going to have your Plasma Field or Orb damage being refracted, if you get the timing right. So this is why I'm kind of leaning towards that hero more than anything else. But they really could go for anything. If they want to go a little bit more aggressive, you could even pick up something like a Queen of Pain.
5 seconds
That way you can go for this this burst damage Orchid style build up against the Puck as well as the Wisp. They could go heroes like OD. It's an older hero of Faders, but would function quite nicely up against this lineup. You could be nuking down that Puck as well as Wisp in a blink if you get a good start. Not to mention you've already got your normally the base attack of the OD is quite poor. You wait until you get your orbs up, but this will be like a secondary buff onto that. But FNG thinks it'll be a Nature's Prophet instead. The mid solo Fader Prophet then, because I doubt he's going to be taking the Mirana in towards the mid. And the Treant Protector, the final ban out by Cloud9. So more concerned about the survivability, and they want to make sure that their burst damage early on is going to do the job. And there is actually one area which we haven't even looked at, or I haven't even mentioned at all, and that's the Faceless Void. It hasn't been touched by either of these teams just yet. I'm not going to say we're walking around with support Gyro from Na'Vi, but a mid-solo Faceless Void has potential. You get a poor man's shield, and the damage from Puck will be nothing. So I still want to see where this Puck and Razor end up.
Wind Ranger,
and it'll be a Wind Ranger. A hero which Denny's been playing a little bit more as a solo mid. It'll be the final selection up here by Cloud9. And what we will now assume to be the hero of Fader. Because the Mirana wants to be with the Bane, the Visage wants to be with the Drow. And they'll just try and split the experience up nicely and make sure they win their early laning phase. Because that's how you win with Drow Ranger. If your Drow Ranger gets shut down early on, you basically... Well, I'm not going to say you lose, because there are ways for a Drow Ranger to recover, and if she can hit level 11 still in a half-decent time, you're still looking pretty good, because the damage output really increases. The pushing power on the towers, both teams are quite weak at this. Like, Razor, once he gets nagging himself, will have a lot more. Gyro and Puck and Razor are a little bit better at cleaning up the creep wave than like the Cloud9 lineup. But at the same time, I suppose you do have Power Shot. You do also have your Starfall and the familiar Birds and Drow Ranger. Like just that combo together just destroy everything. The Earthshaker will be the final selection, so we'll get a support Earthshaker into this game. It will be a Dendi Puck, which means it's a Razor by Funnick. And potentially an aggro tri-lane from Na'Vi. If they do this, I do not like their chances at all. They could separate the Miranda and the Bane, which would be very, very useful. But if there's any kind of vision coming out from Cloud9 early on, and they see this happening, they could switch up their lanes and push the Drow and the Visage to the bottom lane. So then you'll have Vorst and Wisp up against a Visage as well as Drow Ranger. And then what, Razor and Earthshaker? No, actually they switched it. So, yeah. That definitely said, I'm even going to check my side screen right now. Yeah, definitely said Puck, Dendi. So, Dendi as well as Funnick have switched the heroes around.
10 seconds remaining.
There's no real surprise about what's like the heroes over from Cloud9. Everything is stock all standard. We'll be having Fader on the puck. Fader on the puck. Fader on the Wind Ranger. Pilot Eye is the Bane. Aoi 2000 Visage. Turtle and Vitro Ranger wearing that horrible, horrible mask. And that leaves last but not least Bone 7 playing up the role as Moran, who's already heading down a long way towards the bottom. While Na'Vi do the opposite. They run north. So Vanskor as the Wisp. We'll have a Vorse as the Gyrocopter. Funnick into the role as Razor. Dendy's Puck. And then FNG will be playing up the role as the Earthshaker. So that's Eternal Envy trying to set new trends now. Good luck, have fun just is not enough to express his words. So, into the game we go. Warning wise, we'll see what camp's going to get blocked up or not. As Na'Vi won't find anybody up here in the dire jungle. Just an observer ward to block the camp, so they're definitely trying to commit to make sure that that camp and offlane cannot be controlled. While Cloud9 put a blocking ward for this camp, but also a bit of a vision ward. You notice it gets a bit of a slither of vision just down this region here. So just far enough to the right that it's difficult to do the straight up D ward. So if you put the one here as well as the one here, which is a normal warding to get rid of that, then you're fine. They could also just put a sentry ward over on the side to get rid of any kind of vision ward if they think it's an aggro tri-lane. But it's just the dual lanes. So everything is rather predictable coming into this game. Apart from our lanes, which don't fully make sense. FNG is going to hold the creep wave. Actually, did he lose one? Ooh, he almost did too. He realized it when he didn't go for the straight block. He did the deeper block with the feature. The new way it works now, you don't have to just do a straight block across the face. But you'll also notice too up on the top lane. Eternal Envy, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but he let the creep wave go. Now, if the blocking... Okay, he let the... FNG also let the range creep go. This creep wave's going to meet roughly around... I hope not. I hope not. I have confidence that this will not be happening because the players would not be stupid enough not to try and protect themselves and get everything offline so they cannot be tracked. So Pilot Eye will get himself out and in again. But again, that could also just be Romanian internet. So, yeah. Meanwhile, with the block positioning up on this top lane, it's going to bring the dire creep wave very close towards that tier 1 tower, if not directly on top of it, which gives you a kickback. It's a pretty big kickback as well, because it's the fact that you're going to have the creep wave. Really? Cool. So the creep wave is going to basically hit the tower, and then you'll have a creep wave and a half pushing back into the Drow Ranger, which is exactly what she wants. It's an early burst of levels, and makes it also very difficult for the offlaners to get some early early last hits. You got 47 damage and 51 damage on the Earthshaker as well as the Razor. So your DPS there, attacking under a tower, which is dishing out 110 damage a pop, to a creep that's only got 550 life points, getting the exact time for those last hits is rather difficult. So it screws up your enemy as well as works for you. That's why sometimes I watch this top block, especially when Earthshakers do it, and you wonder if it's really worth it. And I remember I had this conversation with Clairvoyance a while back too, talking about the fact of like, well, is it better just to let the creep wave go then? Because if you let the creep wave go, then the creep wave pushes in, then it kicks back up again. So you kept your experience. Sure, you'll have to then farm underneath your own tower, but if your creep wave's in the right position, you can actually pull the Radiant creep wave back to around this position area. So because of that, is that really a problem here? And it ended up being like a very situational kind of thing. For me, I'd say with the situation with the Drow Ranger, experience is more important than money in just the first couple of levels, because you want to get to level 6. So throttling the lane, controlling the lane is what it's all about. You most definitely want to get your hand of Mice up as early as you possibly can, but if you can get 2 creep waves worth of experience without any kind of contest from the enemy, you don't have to take any kind of harassment damage, hell yeah, you go for that. Because like, you've already got your 1 point up in your aura, and just having 1 point up in the arrows and potentially 1 point up in gust, you don't need it this early on, but you could even put a 2nd point up into the cold arrows. You could be having a lot more of a presence in the lane. And the level 1 cold arrows with a movement slow of 11%, it's not really that much to write home about, but 24% slow, hell yeah. Once you're at level 2, level 3 arrows, you actually have potentials for kills. That's why running a melee offlaner is not really that great if you've got no great like instant escape mechanism. The Centaur was banned out because he's really, really tanky. But if you take away like that tanky aspect of the hero, and you have like a different kind of offlaner that's got no way to just to run himself away to safety, then you've got a major problem, because the cold arrows just slow you down completely, that you're able to just orb walk down and get the kill. So early boots is like one of the greatest things you can have on a Drow Ranger in such a scenario. in this scenario, I don't know if Eternal Envy will want to actually build into the treads. Judging by the fact it's already got the Wraithband recipe, which is actually quite unusual. Because you can't pick up all the items for something like a Ring of Aquila from the side shop. Like, if you're doing this and you also had Ring of Protection. So if you also had a Ring of Protection in there, and you had the recipe, you're basically taking out the the 3 parts, which you can't buy from the side shop. Now, you can buy your slippers over here, and you can buy your Sage's Mask. So that will complete up your full Ring of Basilius. And there have been some players which have been enjoying rushing that on a safe lane. But in this scenario, yeah, looks like Envy's going to be trying something a little bit more different. So Bone 7, he's the man with the Ring of Protection down here. So this is meant to be Ring of Basilius. So it's going to help out Pyle Die with his mana costs and usage on the lane. Not to mention, once these guys start getting a couple of kills, you want to keep that mana regeneration kicking in. Bane's probably going to be hoping for a couple of kills himself, so we can rush into something more like Arcane Boots. Bone 7's probably primary job, judging by the amount of Ironwood branches he's got. Like, I know the mech builder is kind of Fader. He always has been, always kind of likes to be. But in this game, I'm wondering if it might even be better to put the mech. Actually, no. It should still be over on the Wind Ranger. She's just a little too squishy to not have it there. At the same time, Mirana's not really like the greatest hero as well. So for now, we've got a couple of players dropped out. Also, Joyful, I'll be joined by Clairvoyance for my next D2CL game. So in the meantime, get out the Twitters and the Facebooks and everything else you've got. Spam Matt the fact that we are live with these games. You can find the live stream over at joindota.com or d2cl.org, where you can follow the details of the competition as well. And we've got another Dota 2 coming up your way, so if you only just tuned in, we will be having Empire versus Cloud9. That'll be the next series of games coming up today. So it's a four game set for Cloud9. And then there's also ESL 1 action tonight. If you missed it all last night, well, not a surprise. It was DDoSed out. But we will be having ESL 1 starting at 21 CEST, with Team Secret going up against Na'Vi. The winner of that one will travel all the way to New York to compete in the ESL 1, which is only a couple of weeks away. Even the D2CL LAN finals, that'll be hosted at DreamHack Bucharest. That's coming up at the 31st of October, going until the 2nd of November. I will be casting that one live in Bucharest. We'll have, well, actually, I'm the only person directly from the JD crew going to be there, as we have Melk, Zoe, as well as the Capitalist, flying down to Taiwan on the 11th, on the 1st and the 2nd of November, as they're doing the MSI Beat It finals down there. But for DreamHack Bucharest, I'll be your caster, and we will have somebody else there with me. In fact, I hope we will have another 2 talents also flying in to help bring you your English production, which you'll actually find right here on this live stream. So the Joint Dota live stream will be used for the LAN finals. So if you're worried about having to track down another live stream, you don't have to. We'll have it all embedded anyway, like every other stream which we have for the Dota 2 world. Right there over on joindota.com. Hence you find out there's a surprise I-League match coming up tonight. Seems DK pulled out of I-League. So they had to find themselves a replacement out of LGDC and Newbie as well as HGT. So they ended up playing a 3-game series against each other. And we'll see who ends up coming out on top of that one, replacing them in I-League, which we should also be doing coverage for. That'll be over on Joint Dota Blue, starting up in 2 days' time. So, a lot of Dota everywhere you look. Except here. We have a nice, long, extended pause coming up here from Cloud9 as well as Na'Vi. Obviously, we couldn't make it too easy for the live streams. We might actually have ourselves a short break and come back here in a moment, as we'll wait for our Cloud9 players to come back in here, as we don't have everyone reconnected back yet. We're missing both the Bane as well as the Drow Ranger. So we'll have ourselves a short break, and I'll see you guys back here in a moment, hopefully with some Dota. Hopefully.